I literally started working in criminal justice reform like 45 years ago, right? Kind of guess. But it wasn't until I came to the Women's Prison Association in 1990 that I had any appreciation for how the extent to which dealing with women in the criminal justice system really required proficiency in all of these other systems. Criminal justice is a factor for them, but sometimes I think it's not even the most important factor. And central to their ability to create a life for themselves out in the community is what you're interested in, right? It's housing, and often housing with supportive services. So the topic that you're talking about is really timely, right? Supportive housing for women with criminal justice involvement makes sense because it really does reduce future criminality. It promotes family stability and positive outcome for children, and it saves money. Why focus on women? Well, we get asked this question all the time, even at the point in history that we are. Because more than 1 million people are currently involved in the criminal justice system. That's 1 out of every 109 adult women. And they now account for 7% of the state and federal populations. The growth in the number of women in prison has been breathtaking over the last 15, 20 years. The number of women in prison has increased at nearly double the rate of men since 1985. The rate of increase for women is 404% and for men 209%. All breathtaking statistics if, truth were to be told. At the end of 2009, there were 105,197 women incarcerated in state or federal prisons, and just over 2,400 of them are incarcerated in New York State. These numbers don't include the huge number of people who are going through our jails. Approximately 900,000 women in local jails are under correctional supervision, which means like probation, parole in the community, or an alternative to incarceration programs. So I think that this is an interesting slide because it tells you a little bit about the criminal justice characteristics of the women that we're talking about. And it shows it in comparison to the men. So the first 2 columns relate to violent offenses, the middle to property offenses, and the right to drug offenses. So you see that women in prison are roughly a third, and a third. Whoops. Considerably fewer, a lower percentage for violent offenses, a higher percent for property and drug offenses, but that roughly a third, and a third. And so what do we know about them? I mean, this is the essence of why supportive housing can be so pivotal in meeting the needs that they've got. They're in their early 30s, well, they can be older than that. They're there overwhelmingly on drug-related crimes. They're undereducated, unskilled, suffering from poverty, unemployment. They're disproportionately women of color. They're victims to a very high degree, to a breathtaking degree, victims of physical and or sexual abuse over their lifetime, with significant issues related to substance abuse, health, and mental health kinds of issues. And they're mothers to minor children, right? And what I learned when I was at the Women's Prison Association is sometimes their families are almost generational. They might have some almost grown children, but they also have some very young children. So there are a lot of people who are affected when you're incarcerating a woman in the criminal justice system. So it's hard to deal with women, just as a criminal justice issue or just as a housing issue, when in fact they're presenting with all of these other issues too.